Hello, Erica here, and I'm here with my Dewey's 24-hour readathon wrap-up. So, as is tradition, I like to finish the readathon around 8 a.m., sleep for about 2.5 hours, and then wake up and immediately film my wrap-up without, refreshing myself or putting on my face or whatever, because I just think it's awesome to see how exhausted I was the day after the readathon. Maybe someday I'll learn, but I won't. So, first of all, the readathon was awesome. It was so much fun. Thank you to everyone who hung out on Twitter and Instagram, and the cheerleaders and the hosts and the organizers and the challenge organizers, everyone who participated. It was absolutely so much fun. I think in one of the warm-up posts on the blog or somewhere in the week leading up, and I'm sorry, I can't remember where, somebody said that Dewey's Readathon is like a giant bookish slumber party on the internet, which is so true. I had a blast, especially starting around 3 a.m. my time when things got really weird. Anyway, I read a ton. I read a little over 2,000 pages. I read for 16 hours and 9 minutes, and my goal was 16 hours of reading, and that's been my goal the last 2 readathons, and I've been just shy of it, so I'm really excited that I made that goal. I finished 3 novels, 1 novella, a collection of short stories, 1 poetry collection and then some, and 6 graphic novels. So, I did well, and I'm pleased with that, but I didn't get anything else done yesterday. Anyway, this is what I read. So, the readathon started at 8 a.m. on Saturday for me. Friday night, I did not get home from work, unfortunately, until about 1 o'clock in the morning, which means I really wasn't ready for sleep until about 3 o'clock in the morning, so this is really 2 days of sleep deprivation. So I woke up in time to start the readathon on time, but I could not handle real heavy books or anything, so I kicked off with the first 3 volumes of Amulet by Kazuo Kurushi. And this is a middle grades graphic novel series that I've talked about before, and I'll talk about more in my wrap-up. But these were perfect to get the readathon started. There's not a ton of text to the page. The art is beautiful, and it was just really fun. So that's volumes 4, 5, and 6 of Amulet. I gave all 3 volumes 3 stars. After finishing those, I finally felt alive and like a normal human again. So I read Window Left Open by Jennifer Gratz, which is a tiny little collection of poetry. I still don't know much about Jennifer Gratz, but I know that I enjoyed these poems a lot. They are really lyrical, very focused on nature, and kind of self-exploration, and I enjoyed them thoroughly. I gave this 3 stars as well. Next, I finished a book that I had talked about in my TBR, but I had already been reading earlier in the week, so I finished off The Story of My Teeth by Valerie, and this was amazing. I read this much of it. I left my bookmark where it was when I started it yesterday, but so it's about 60 pages that I finished, and I loved this. I think I'm going to do a full review on it. I gave this 4 stars. While all of that was going on, I was taking short breaks and listening to the audiobook of The Book of Unknown Americans by Christina Enriquez. This is a story told through multiple perspectives of a family who immigrates from Mexico to the U.S., and the other families in their neighborhood, and the daughter who has suffered a severe brain injury, and kind of how she starts to get herself back and fall in love, and how everyone around her is adjusting to life in the United States. It was not as good as I hoped. I had really high hopes for this, which is probably why I've put it off for so long. I've owned this book for a really long time, but I enjoyed it. It was a fun read. It was great for the readathon. The audio version was really fun because it was a full cast narration, so when the perspective switched in the book, the narrator switched as well, which was great. And I gave it 3 stars overall. Definitely not bad, just not as good as I hoped it would be. Then I finished one of the novellas I had picked out. This is the only one I finished, and that was The Lifted Veil by George Eliot, which I'm glad I finished because I've put this on my past 2 Dewey's Readathon TBRs and haven't gotten to it. And I just did not like this. I gave it 2 stars. It's the story of a man. It's very unreliable narrator who is ill, falls in love with this girl, and shit gets crazy. I can't tell you much. It's only this big, but it was okay. I gave it 2 stars. I just don't think George Eliot and I are meant to be friends. The next book I finished was George Saunders' Civil War Lad. Civil War Land in Bad Decline. This is a collection of short stories, and then there's a novella at the end, so the last story is kind of like half the book. But I love George Saunders. This is the fourth work of his that I've read, and he's amazing. These stories were a little bit more gruesome and gory than stories of his that I've previously read. A lot of them dealt with death and like really gory, gruesome, violent deaths. And so that was interesting, but it certainly kept me awake. But I love this. 4.5 stars. George Saunders is a master. So at this point, it's about like midnight, and I'm starting to feel the pain. I did take 2 naps throughout the day. I napped from like noon to 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and then I napped again from like midnight to 3 a.m. At which point I realized that I missed my hour to post my hourly challenge, only by like 15 minutes or so, but I freaked out because I was positive that it was 4 a.m. and it was 3 a.m. my time that was supposed to go up. So anyway, I got it up. Thank you to all of those of you who entered. But I had like, it was one of those things where I like bolted awake and kind of lost my mind. But then I had a lot of adrenaline, so I finished some more things. I read the first volume of I Hate Fairyland. This is by Scotty Young and Jean-Francois Bellu. And this is a really fun, I'm going to talk about it in my next graphic novel roundup, but this was hilarious, and just, it was so funny. So I'm glad I got to read this. I gave this 3.5 stars. I kind of bounced back and forth during the wee hours between the text and the audio of Sputnik Sweetheart by Haruki Murakami. This is probably my least favorite Murakami that I've read to date, and it's very typical Murakami for the most part, with the exception of the fact that there is kind of a lesbian relationship in it, which I don't necessarily think he handled very well, but it's really typical. And there are these like weird distanced characters who don't have many friends. Somebody goes missing mysteriously, and there's like this detached romance subplot. Anyway, I gave it 3 stars. And now it's like 6 o'clock in the morning, right? I'm succumbing to sleep very quickly. I picked up 2 more graphic novels, and that's all I managed to finish. So I picked up Paper Girls by Brian K. Vaughan and Cliff Chiang. This is a recent release, at least in the trade form, and it's about 4 kind of 12-year-old early teen girls who in 1988 are newspaper delivery girls, and the day after Halloween they get involved in some crazy shit, some crazy time travel shit, and kind of have to figure out what's going on. This was great. I really enjoyed this. Very pleasantly surprised. I think I gave it 3.5 or 4 stars on Goodreads. I can't remember, but it's in that range. And the last thing I read was Lumberjanes Volume 3, A Terrible Plan. This is by Noelle Stevenson, Shannon Waters, Carolyn Nobeck, Marta Leo, and a variety of other amazing women. Again, I'll talk about all these graphic novels more in my next graphic novel roundup, which will be coming probably at the end of this month. But this was fun and really perfect for kind of the last hour of the readathon. I did get about halfway through it, and it was 10 after 7 in the morning. So there were only 50 minutes left to go in the readathon, and I totally was like, I have to sleep. So at 7:10 in the morning, I took a 20-minute nap, and then got back up for the last 30 minutes of readathon, finished this up, sent out my tweets, and passed out. But I give this 3 stars. I'm really liking this series. It's really fun. So that is what I did during Dewey's 24-hour readathon. Please let me know if you participated and how you did. They've already announced the date for the next readathon, which is going to be October 22nd. So I hope to see you all there, and I will see you all next time when I'm looking a little bit more refreshed and well-rested. Bye.